Hey friends, Mrs. Matway here to help you a little bit with reading latitude lines. There are a few key points that you need to remember about latitude lines. First, latitude lines only measure up to 90 degrees, all the way up to the North Pole, and then 90 degrees all the way to the South Pole. Also, latitude lines only are north and south. And last, you need to remember that the latitude lines are the ones that run across the earth. You can see them outlined here. These are latitude lines. So when you're trying to determine the latitude of a specific place, you're going to, in this case, want to use a ruler because the lines are perfectly straight. And you want to create, using a ruler, a latitude line for that place. So I am going to right now show you how to draw it in. You would use a ruler to do the same thing. So I'm drawing a latitude line for that place. Now, like I said, this is only going to work if the latitude lines on the map are perfectly straight. If the lines are curved, which you can see right here, these latitude lines are curved a little bit. If that is the case, you need to make sure that you follow the curve, and I'll do an example with you later in the video. So let's go back to this one. So I've drawn with a ruler my latitude line, and now I'm going to determine how many degrees my point is from the equator. It's really important that you pay close attention to the distance between the two lines that are already on the map, because it's not always going to be 20 degrees like in my example here. You'll see on this map, if I zoom in here, the distance, the degrees between the two latitude lines is actually only 5 degrees. Look, 60 degrees north here. And then we come here, it's 65 degrees north. So it's really important to pay close attention to that. So going back here, I can see that my degrees has to be between the numbers 20 and 40. If my degrees are not between the numbers 20 and 40, then it's not correct. So this may be really hard to estimate because it's 20 degrees difference. But what I like to do sometimes is figure out where the halfway point is. And I know that the halfway point between 20 and 40 is actually 30. So I'm going to actually draw a line where I think 30 degrees would be. And I'm going to change that to red so we can see it a little bit better. Awesome. So now I know where 30 degrees is. It's right about here. And I see that my line, my place was just slightly south of that. So I'm going to estimate it to be maybe around 31 or 32 degrees. So after I do this, I'm going to go over, I'm going to write it in my chart. It's approximately 31 degrees. All right. And then I'm going to ask myself what hemisphere the place is in. What hemisphere is it in? Well, I can see that this point is actually south of the equator. Here's my equator right here. It's just south of the equator. See, I'm going to even draw a little arrow in here for you. It's south of the equator. You can see I'm moving south. Okay. So I can say that this is in the southern hemisphere. So I'm just going to write south. And I'm going to then put together my degrees in my hemisphere to write out the latitude of this point. So it's 31 degrees south. Fabulous. Let's try another example. So I have my point right here, this little red dot. I'm going to step 1, draw a line across, drawing a line, making sure it's nice and straight with that ruler. Change the color so we can see a little bit better. I'm going to then pay close attention. It's between 60 degrees and 80 degrees. I'm going to draw in where I think halfway is, which is 70. I know halfway is 70, right about there. And I can see it's just above the 70 line. So it's somewhere between 70 degrees and 80 degrees. And I'm going to estimate again that it's about 72 degrees. So I'm going to go over to my chart. I'm going to write 72 degrees. And then I'm going to see that it's actually north. Here's my equator. If I draw an arrow, it's north of my equator. You see that? So I'm going to write in that it is north over here in the northern hemisphere. So you can see that I'm going to put the two together, 72 degrees north. And feel free to use the degrees sign instead of the word degrees. It's actually a little bit easier to write that way. So let's see what it looks like on a map that's a little bit different, where the lines are curved and our degrees are closer together. So I have a map here of Norway, Sweden, and Finland, and a little bit of Russia. And we are going to find the latitude of, and I'm going to put a little dot in here with my scribbly mark. We're going to find the latitude of Umea. Sorry, I mispronounced that for anyone that lives in this city. All right, so we're going to find the latitude at that point. Now, my directions tells me to draw a line straight across, but I can't. It's not going to give me the correct answer because these lines, you see how they're slightly curved? So I have to, using my pencil, follow that curve as best as I possibly can. So I'm going to use my scribble here. Sorry if my line is a little bit shaky, but I'm going to try really, 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 really hard to follow that curve. See, I'm moving up now, boom. Okay. So you can see that I followed the curve. Now, if I look very closely, I'm going to see that 60 degrees north, 65 degrees north. So my latitude of the city is somewhere between the numbers 60 and 65. So this little dash right here is actually 61, 62. Do you see how it gives you a little space? 63. This whole thing is 63 right here. And this is approximately 64. Isn't that interesting how it uses these to figure it out? So I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to type in that it's approximately 64 degrees. I'm going to ask myself, what hemisphere am I in? Well, you can see that there's ends next to these degrees. So that's going to tell me it's in the northern hemisphere. So I'm going to write north. All right. And that gives us a total latitude of 64 degrees north. So it's really important that you follow that curve as best you can to determine it. And also pay attention to these sides, these numbers. What are they? So now that you've watched the video and you've completed your guided viewing notes, why don't you go grab a worksheet and practice reading some latitude lines? Good luck.